If your business stops every time you take a day off, you don't own a business, you literally own a job. And not just a normal job, a very stressful job. And to be honest, the worst part, you probably built it yourself. Every client needs you, every team member needs you, every approval or even decision goes through you, every decision waits for you, and every problem lands on your desk. From the outside, it looks successful. Revenue's growing, clients were happy, team is expanding. But to be honest, behind the scenes, you are exhausted. You cannot unplug. Vacations feel impossible. And deep down, you know something has to change. Because what's the point of building a business if you're trapped inside of it? Today, I want to show you how founders accidentally become the biggest bottleneck in their own company, and more importantly, how to escape that. The founder bottleneck. Let's start with a difficult truth. Your team is probably waiting on you more than you realize. Think about yesterday. How many times did someone ask, can you approve this? Can you check this? What do you think about this? Can you jump on a call? Can you fix this? What's your decision? Now, multiply that by the entire week, then a month, then a year. That's thousands of interruptions. And most founders don't notice it because it feels productive. You're helping, you're solving problems, you're being available. But to be honest, availability isn't leadership, it's dependency. And dependency doesn't scale. Imagine trying to build a bridge where every single car has to stop to ask permission if they can go through. Traffic would never move. And that's exactly what happens inside founder-led businesses. Everything flows through one person. Eventually, that person becomes the limiting factor. Why founders become bottlenecks? Here's what's interesting. Almost nobody does this intentionally. It usually starts with good intentions. You want things done correctly. You care about equality. You're protecting your clients. You're moving fast. So you tell yourself, it's quicker if I just do it. And maybe it is once, twice, 10 times. But eventually, your team learns something dangerous. I'll wait for the CEO. I'll wait for the founder. Then I'll get the answer. Congratulations. You've accidentally trained your business to depend on you. Every answer reinforces a habit. Every interruption strengthens the bottleneck. And one day, wake up wondering, why can't anyone make decisions without me? The answer, it's simple, because you taught them not to. The hero trap. Founders love solving problems. We all know that. It's one of the reasons we started businesses in the first place. We're resourceful, fast, decisive. We like fixing things, but somewhere along the way, being the hero becomes the identity. You begin measuring your value by how many problems do you actually solve. The issue is, great CEOs are not heroes. They are architects. Heroes run into burning buildings. Architects design buildings that don't catch fire in the first place. Read that again, because that is the shift. If you're solving the same problems every single week, you're not leading. You are firefighting, and firefighting doesn't scale. Your calendar tells the truth. Here's a simple exercise. Open your calendar from last week. Look at every meeting, every task, every interruption. Now ask yourself one question. What percentage of this actually required me? Not could I do it? Those are completely different questions. Most founders discover something shocking. 70 to 80% of their work could eventually be delegated, not overnight, but with the right systems. And that's where everything begins to change. The hidden cost of being involved in everything. Most founders think that the cost of doing everything is time. To be honest, it is not. The real cost is opportunity. Every hour you spend approving invoices, you're not thinking about growth. Every hour spent fixing small things, small mistakes, you're not improving strategy. Every hour spent answering repetitive questions, you're not building partnerships. Leadership requires space. Thinking requires space, vision, requires space. If your entire day is consumed by operations, who's building the future of the business? Because it certainly is not the founder who's answering all Google chat messages every 5 minutes. The identity shift. This is where many founders struggle. They know they should delegate. They've read the books. They've watched the podcast. They agree with the advice, but they don't do it. And why? Because delegation isn't just a skill, it's an identity shift. You stop asking, how do I get this done? And start asking, who can own this? That single question can transform an entire company, not immediately, but consistently. The goal isn't to remove yourself from the business overnight. The goal is to remove yourself from the tasks that prevent you from leading it. The delegation ladder. Now that we've identified the problem, let's talk about the solution. One of the biggest myths about delegation is that it's all or nothing. Founders think that delegation means handing off an entire department overnight. That's not how great businesses are built. Delegation happens in stages. I call it the delegation ladder. Every founder climbs it. The mistake is trying to skip the steps. Let's walk through each level. Level 1, do. Every founder starts here. You're the salesperson, the marketer, customer support, operations, finance, hiring, content creator, sometimes IT, cleaner. There's nothing wrong with the stage. In fact, it's necessary because before you can even teach someone else, you have to understand the work yourself. The danger comes when founders refuse to lead this stage. What helped you start the business eventually becomes what limits its growth. Level 2, document. This is where most businesses fail. Founders say, I'll delegate when I have time, but they never create the documentation that makes delegation possible. Documentation doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to exist. Record your screen. Create a checklist. Write a simple SOP. Take screenshots. Use Loom. Use Notion. Google Docs. The format doesn't even matter at this point. The habit does. Every repetitive task deserves documentation because every documented process becomes one less dependency on you. Think about this. If you disappeared for a week, could someone else complete the task using your documentation? If the answer is no, you found your next system to build. Level 3, delegate. Now you hand it off, but here's another mistake most founders make. They now delegate the task, but not the outcomes. There's a huge difference. Instead of saying, post this video, explain the desired result, we want this content to educate founders and generate qualified leads for our offer. Now, your team understands the purpose, not just the assignment. When people understand the outcome, they make better decisions without needing your approval. To be honest, that is the goal, not obedience. It's ownership. Level 4, verify. This is where many founders sabotage delegation. They either disappear completely or they micromanage everything. Neither works really. Instead, create checkpoints, review, coach, improve. Ask questions, give your feedback. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is progress. Every review makes the next handoff better. Eventually, your involvement decreases naturally. Level 5, empower. This is where most businesses start scaling. Your team doesn't wait for instructions anymore. They now identify the problems, suggest solutions, make decisions, improve systems. That's real leverage. Not because they're smarter than you, but because you've created an environment where ownership is expected. And here's the interesting part. Empowered teams don't happen because you've hired exceptional people. They happen because exceptional leaders create clarity. Now, delegation isn't control. One of the biggest fears founders have is this: if I delegate, the quality will drop. Maybe at first, but ask yourself something. Is 80% done by someone else better than 100% done by you? If it frees 10 hours a week to grow the business, most founders optimize for perfection. Great founders optimize for leverage because leverage compounds. Perfection doesn't. Buy back your time. Let's talk about the most valuable asset in your business. This is not money, not even a software, not even your team. It's your attention. Because where your attention goes, the business flows. If you're spending attention on repetitive work, your business stays repetitive. If you're spending your attention on strategy, the business becomes more strategic. That's why I love thinking in terms of buying back time. Every task has a cost, not just the hourly cost, the opportunity cost. Imagine you're spending 3 hours a day answering emails. That's 15 hours every week, 60 hours every month, 780 hours every year. That's literally a full month of your life on an email. Now, imagine someone else owned that process. What could you build with those 780 hours? A new offer, a new hiring system, a better client experience, content, partnerships? That's the real ROI delegation. It's not saving time, it's creating capacity. The time audit. If I were coaching you one-on-one, the first thing I'd ask is not for you to hire someone else. It's perform a time audit for 1 week. Write down everything you do, every task, every meeting, every interruption. Don't judge it. Just collect the data. At the end of the week, highlight 3 categories: green, yellow, and red. Green task energizes you. They require your expertise, leadership, vision, high-level sales, partnerships. These stay with you. Yellow task can eventually be delegated. Client calls, reporting, scheduling, follow-ups, administrative work. The red task should leave your calendar as quickly as possible. Repetitive admin, data entry, calendar management, inbox management, file organization, meeting rescheduling, basic research. Once you see your week on paper, the opportunities become obvious. Most founders aren't overwhelmed because they have too much work. They are overwhelmed because they own too much work. Every hire should solve a constraint. This is another mistake I see all the time. Founders hire based off of job titles. I need an executive assistant. I need a social media manager. I need an operations manager. That's the wrong question. Ask instead, what constraint is slowing the business? Hire for the body, not the title. Maybe your constraint is speed. Maybe it's organization. Maybe it's client communication. Maybe it's operations. Maybe it's follow-up. Solve the problem and choose the role. And that's how smart hiring works. The freedom equation. Here's a way to think about every task. Ask yourself 4 questions. Does this require my expertise? Does it generate revenue? Does it move the company forward? Am I the only person that can do this? If the answer to most of the questions is no, why are you still doing it? That's literally not leadership. That's a habit. The goal isn't to be busy. The goal is to make your time increasingly valuable. Because every year, your role should become smaller while your impact becomes larger. Your first hire should buy back your time, not add more work. One of the biggest misconceptions about hiring is that it's supposed to solve all your problems. It won't. In fact, your first hire will probably create new ones. You'll be needing to train them, document processes, answer questions, give feedback. At first, it feels slower. That's why so many founders quit delegating too early. They think, see, it's faster if I do it myself. And they're right. For today, but not for the next 12 months. Hiring is one of the few activities where you deliberately slow down now to move dramatically faster later. The founders who understand this build companies. The founders who don't build careers. There's a big difference. Don't hire for revenue. Hire for capacity. When founders think about hiring, they usually ask, can I afford this person? I think there's a better question other than that. Can I afford to stay the bottleneck? Because every week you delay the light hire, you're delaying growth. Imagine you're turning away opportunities because you're too busy fulfilling existing work. And that's expensive. Imagine your team waiting for approvals before they even move. That is expensive. Most founders obsess over payroll, but they ignore the hidden cost of founder dependency. So your first hire isn't just another expense. They're an investment in capacity. Capacity creates growth. Growth funds the next hire. And that's how businesses scale. Now, one of the biggest questions I get, what should your first hire actually do? Hire someone to own operational work. Look at the calendar, circle everything. That happens every single week. Scheduling, inbox management, follow-up, CRM updates, meeting coordination, project tracking, client onboarding, internal communication, status reporting. These are not just tasks, they are interruptions. And interruptions destroy momentum. Every time you switch contexts, you lose focus, you lose energy, you lose time. A great operation hire doesn't just remove work, they remove mental clutter. That's the real value. Systems will always beat hustle. Okay, let's talk about this controversial take that working harder is the answer. Early on, hustle matters. You need urgency, energy, execution. You wear multiple hats because you have to. But eventually, the habits that got you to 6 figures will stop you from reaching 7 because hustle doesn't scale, systems do. Imagine 2 founders. Founder A works 14 hours a day, answers every email, approves every decision, works on the weekends, never disconnects. Founder B works fewer hours, has documented systems, clear roles, weekly scorecards, a leadership team, decision-making frameworks. Which business survives longer? Which one attracts better talent? Which one can operate during a family emergency? Which one scales intentionally? Of course, the second one, every single time. Because businesses don't grow from effort alone. They grow from repeatability. Now, this is the CEO shift. At some point, every founder has to graduate. You stop measuring success by how much you accomplish personally. You start measuring success by what your team accomplishes without you. That's a completely different game. Your value no longer comes from doing. It comes from designing. Designing systems in place, designing culture, designing accountability, designing clarity. The CEO's job isn't to be the engine, it's to build one. Now, if you feel overwhelmed today, don't try to fix everything this week. Start with one question. What's one recurring task that I don't want to do again? Document it, delegate it, improve it, then repeat it every month. Buy back another piece of your time, not because you're lazy, because your highest value work should keep evolving. As the company grows, your role should become smaller in execution and it's bigger in visions. I'll leave you with this. The goal isn't to work less. Working hard isn't the enemy. Staying irreplaceable is. If every decision depends on you, you've built dependency, not leadership. Real freedom doesn't come from making more money. It comes from building a business that can create value even when you're not in the room. That's what systems do. That's what great teams do. And that's what every founder should be working toward. By the way, I'm Gen Gacer. For over 5 years now, I've been supporting CEOs, founders like you, through dedicated virtual assistants and remote professionals. I've seen the insides of any businesses, countless of businesses, the bottlenecks, the chaos, the overwhelm. And I've seen the transformation that happens when you finally delegate the right way. I've helped founders reclaim hundreds of hours, stabilize their operations, and build companies that no longer depend on them for every single task. If you're ready to get the right person in place, supporting you, the right systems beside you, and a structure that actually scales, click the link below and book your VA strategy call with me. And it'll save you months of trial and error and years of wasted time. If you're building something real, subscribe, stay connected, because we're learning, applying, and winning this game together. I'll see you in the next one.